Hi all, thank you very much for joining me today. In this video we're going to look at how to create various hover effects on buttons. It's not going to be too taxing. We're going to do some simple stuff, and that's a little more complex, but it's nothing to worry about. So let's get started. So let's put a button in here. As you can see, I've already created a HTML template, and I've linked it to the style sheet where I've already put in some default styling. That's just so you don't have to watch me go through all that. Right, default button. Save. Let's actually open this. That'd be a good idea, wouldn't it? There we go. There's our default button. Very ugly. So let's give this a class of btn, which is going to be applied to most of them, and also default. Save. Let's go over to the styles. And let's say default button. So for this one, this is where we're going to apply all the defaults for most of the buttons, so we don't have to keep repeating ourselves. So I'm going to give some padding, 10 pixels top and bottom, 20 left and right, like that. Already looks better. Border radius 5 pixels. Going to do some letter spacing at 1 pixel. Make sure there's no border on it, and cursor will be pointer. Also, I want to put a min width just so it's not weird when you make the screen smaller. I'm going to stick at that for now, and this is what we have. So this is a default button. So if you're in Firefox, because obviously all browsers are different, the default for this is a slight change in the background colour. It's slightly dark when you hover over. So if that's what you want, leave it like that. We're all good to go. But we have applied a class, so let's do the default button. Let's do default. Let's just give it a box shadow of 0 left to right, 7 down, 10 pixel blur with an RGB, a colour of 000, which is black, and the opacity of 0.5. There you go. It's very subtle. Hopefully you can see that on your screen. If you download this or copy this, you'll be able to see it, but it's there. So that's the first one. That was simple. Let's get to the next one, shall we? Button. We'll give this class of btn as well, and this one is concentrating on the outline. So what did we do here? We just put the text outline. There we go. So let's go back here. So there we have it. So the defaults, the btn class has been applied. So I've got all the padding. It's basically the same as this one. And now we can override some of those values if need be. So let's just note this up. Outline btn. Let's spell that right. And let's do outline. And we want the border to come back for this, so border 2 pixel solid steel blue. There it is. Colour also for the text steel blue. There's that. Background colour we want to make transparent. There we go. And also when we do the hover effect, we want to give it a transition. So transition. We want to give that transition to the colour, i.e. the text colour, over 0.3 seconds. And it's comma separate, so we can add also transition to the background colour, also over 0.3 seconds. And now we can go down outline, and use hover. Let's create our effect. So we're going to change the background colour from transparent to steel blue to match the border, and we're going to make the colour of the text a, what should we do, 222? Yeah, like so. So there we go. Pretty simple as well, but it's a nice effect. So moving on, button class equals btn. What we're looking at next, we're looking at full colour. Now this is pretty much the same as this one, apart from we don't have a background colour. It's very simple, but it's worth mentioning. So full colour. I'll spell it properly. I know you non-Brits are probably screaming at me, that's not properly, but there you go. So what we're going to do, we're going to go over to, actually save that, go over to the CSS, let's say, note this up, full colour, there we go again with the U, but I am going to spell it your way here. So full colour, I'm going to say background colour, and I'm going to pick one out of here, quite like that one, and the text colour I'm going to do what I did last time and do the 222. There we go, it's pretty good, and obviously we want to do the hover effect. What I tend to do here is just say background colour, pick the same thing, and then you can use this colour picker just to darken it up a bit. So there's the, let's just go to there, for example, save, there you go, but that's quite instant. So we could take this transition, copy, apply it to the button, remove colour because we're already affecting the background colour, save, there we go. I don't think I did that over here. Anyway, so the next one is button size. So button class equals btn and resize. I'm going to leave it at that. Okay, let's go back to this one. There it is. Okay, so I want to style it up to begin with. Button size, let's call it. And let's say, what did I call it? Resize. Copy. Paste. There we go. I'm going to give this a background colour of crimson and a text colour of white smoke, and also going to put a transition on the padding over 0.3 seconds because that's what we're going to use to resize it. So there you have it. So let's grab that, copy, that's Control C, Control V to paste, hover, and let's say background colour. Let's put let's do the same trick, put that one back in, then we can go in here, slightly darker, save, there you go. Let's put the transition on the colour as well, shall we? Background colour 0.3 seconds. There we go. So in the hover we need to adjust the padding, and I'm going to make this 30 pixels all the way around like this, and there you go. Simple as that. although sometimes it looks a bit different in other browsers for different reasons, but that is a subject for another video. Right, let's do the link style. Link style button. I'm getting ahead of myself here. Let's go and actually create the button. And this is the one we're going to be doing. So button, give it a class equals btn link. Link effect. There we go. Right, so you can probably guess where we're going with this. Link. What we're going to do here, we're going to give the background colour, set that to transparent. Okay. Now the bottom border bottom, we're going to say 2 pixels, oops, solid, steel blue, and the colour of the text steel blue as well. But as you can see, it's got this funny little effect here where it sort of ticks up because it's still got the radius on it from the btn class. So let's remove that border radius, so we're basically overriding it, and there we go. So we want to give this, we want to also override the padding because it's a bit too padded out. So let's do 5. There you go, so the line's a bit closer to the text. Now because we give this a min width of 140, all these buttons, then that's why the line goes off over here. So I suppose we could say min width, I don't know, 90. There we go. So that's a bit more like it, so we're overriding that as well. So let's take the link. And apply a hover to that. Now something I did forget to do up here was the transition, of course. Transition. And we're going to apply that to the transform. 0.3 seconds, and to the colour over 0.3 seconds, and also the border colour over 0.3 seconds. And we could have just done all there, but I don't want to. It's better to be actually pick out what you want to do rather than affect all, because you know it affects everything obviously. Anyway, so we want to do the transform scale here, so we're going to say transform, and you see there's quite a few values that you can apply to the transform, but we're going to do scale, and I'm going to put 0.9 in there, save, you see it just scales down a touch. Now if we did 0.96, it's not as much, so it's quite sensitive, this one. But anyway, let's do that. And obviously we want to do the colour and the border colour, so colour, white smoke, border colour, white smoke as well, save, done. So next, animated. This is fun. Let's go and create a button. Now this no, I'll save that button. Let's do class equals btn animated with capital A. Thank you. There we have it. That's styles. Let's note it up. Animated button. Right, animated button. What do we want to do with you? Let's just style it first. Animated. Background colour. Picked a weird colour for this. Like that. The black text looks good, so we'll leave that. Give it. Don't need to pad in just yet. Well, we do need position relative because we're going to use the pseudo selector of after. We do need to give it a Z index of -1, which will become apparent in a minute. Sorry, 1, not -1. And I'm going to give it an overflow of hidden, which I'm going to comment out for a minute, and transition on the color, because we're going to change text color over 0.5 seconds. So the first thing to do, grab this, give this a hover effect, and just change the color to white. So when you go over here, okay, now we need to get into the animated part. So if we go to animated, and then we're going to use after, give it content of nothing, just have to give it some content. Let's give it a width of 180 pixels, height of 100 pixels, border radius, because we want a rounding effect, excuse me, 50%. Background color, let's pick you. I think that's slightly different to the one in the example, but it will do. And position absolute, and we're going to position this top -20 pixels and left -20 pixels, and we're going to give this a Z index of -1 because we want it to appear under the text, and it's all within the button. So we're going to do a transform scale of 0 because it's going to start at a scale of nothing, which I will also comment out that one. Opacity will be 0, which I'm going to comment out as well. But we do want to give a transition to the transform over 0.5 seconds, and the opacity we're going to do an ease in out there so we can see it do its thing both ways, if you get me meaning. Anyway, if we save that, this is the mess we have. So we could probably move that up a bit because it doesn't look very centered. There we go. Right, the overflow here, where's that gone? Here, there we go. So on the actual element itself, the button, let's do that. Okay, so it sits inside, so you can see it's going to be white when it's hovered over. If we do scale, let's just go through these. We've got a width of 180, height of 100, which you saw, and the 50% border radius made that funny shape because not perfectly round because it's got different height and width. We've got background color. We've positioned it relative to the button, and now we are going to say we don't want it to be shown. So transform the scale to 0 and the opacity to 0 and save, and it's gone. So let's grab this. Let's say, right, when we hover over the animated class, affect the after element, and we want the opacity to be 1 and the transform scale to also be 1. Save, and then you go. There you go. So if we move this overflow hidden, that's basically what it's doing. And you can obviously have this originate from anywhere, so if you wanted to change this to, I don't know, 50, save, and then you've got this effect. If you wanted it to originate from there and cover the whole thing, then you have to make the width a bit bigger. Not 2000, that's silly. But there you go. So I'm going to put that back. Save. There we go. Because I'm going to leave this in the GitHub repo for you, so I'll leave it like that. Right, last but not least is going to be another button. This, we're going to leave the button class out of it because I don't want it there. Expand. Right. This one's a bit more complicated, although not too bad. I'm going to put the whole thing here in a span. So grab this. Save. You can see it's down there. Actually, I'm going to put it on a separate line so you can see it a bit better. So this is what's showing on there. I'm going to separate out the chevron by putting a bold tag around it, like that, and then we can go and style up. So let's go back over here, say expand button. So the usual thing really. Well, let's first target it. Actually, it's not this. It's not the usual thing. We're going to make the width 50 pixels, and the height 40 pixels, like so. And going to give it a border radius. My spelling is all over the place today. Border radius of 5 pixels. Letter spacing. Letter spacing 1 pixel. Overflow. Oh my god. Hidden. So the text can't be seen if it spills out of the button. We don't want the border. So let's get rid of that. Cursor. I know a lot of this is in the button class, the BTN class, but I wanted to do this in a less complicated way. Position, relative, and we want to give a transition on, can you guess? Yep, the width. 0.5 seconds, because obviously it's going to be expanding, the width's going to change. So that's the button. Let's not bother with the colours or anything. You can see how to do that up here with the others. So let's go expand, and then let's concentrate on the span and say display block, and give it a width of 100%, and we want a min width of, we're going to do 150 pixels here. And as you can see, if we remove the overflow, where are you? There. There it is. Let's leave it there like that for a minute. And height, height 100% also, and then I'm going to give it a line height. Could have used flex here, I suppose, but good to show different ways of doing things. And then position, absolute, and we're going to say top 0 and left of 0. Okay. Now then, so this span is actually pinned to the top left here, and it goes zzz, 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 like that. So we put a border around it. I suppose we could border 1 pixel solid red. There it is. Okay, so that's 150 min width. Let's get rid of that. In fact, let's just leave that there, and let's go to expand. Yeah, span B. We want to say margin right, so we're concentrating on this little chevron here. So let's just give it a bit of space to the right of 30 pixels. Save, and there it's in the center. I mean, you can play around with this all day and get it to how you want. You could reduce the width so those are closer together if you wish. I'm just showing an example. So, and the magic, expand, hover, we change the width to 150 pixels. Let's get rid of, no, let's leave that, and that's what happens. Okay, let's get rid of the overflow, and obviously you got the full effect. But if you wanted this not to move and open from the center like that, so obviously you would have to position absolute within a container that this button is in. Hopefully, what's that, 20 odds or nearly half an hour. I'll try to keep this down to as minimal time as possible, but hopefully that wasn't too long. You've learnt something, and if so, please leave a like, subscribe, comments are welcome, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.